What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Around the Felt Sports. I am your host, Colin Tong, and tonight I'm doing a solo mock, my first one of the year, Big Dog Mock 2026 1.0. And typically in the previous 2 years, I've waited till closer to the draft to give out my one and only mock. But this year, I don't know what it is. I just got the itch, man. I'm just totally nerding out for draft season, and I had the time, so I decided to write an article detailing my mock draft and then recording this episode solo, discussing my picks, why I did what I did, and now feels like the right time to do it now that the chaos of free agency has calmed down and we have a lot more clarity on what teams might want to do. So you'll see here on my screen, this is aroundthefeltsports.com where we drop all of our articles. If you're also a UFC fan, our guy Dan DeLizia has been putting out a ton of content for big fights, diving into different prospects for Around the Octagon pod. So if you're a fight fan as well as an NFL fan, NFL draft fan, make sure you check out the other articles we have on the website. And also make sure that you're subscribed on YouTube. You drop a like, you drop a comment. I love bantering back and forth with you guys on different draft picks and, what you're thinking for your teams in those slots. I know Mock Draft 8.0 is cooking. It's the number one video in Around the Felt Sports history at nearly 6.5K views now. So we greatly appreciate the support. Keep it coming, guys. And without further ado, let's get into Big Dog's Mock 1.0 for the 2026 NFL Draft. And the first pick, come on. It's Fernando Mendoza. We don't have to spend a lot of time here. It's very obvious the Raiders are going to go with the quarterback. And, I'm not super high on Mendoza. I don't think he's ever going to be in that upper echelon of quarterbacks, but do I think you can win with him and make a deep playoff run? Absolutely. He was very reliant upon an RPO-heavy scheme at Indiana to no fault of his own. He didn't have to throw the ball a lot at Indiana to no fault of his own. That defense was elite. They had a great running game. They had multiple backs that would rotate in, a couple that might get drafted on day 3 of this year's draft. And you know what? When Mendoza had to make the throws, he made the throws. That play against Penn State, the back of the end zone to Omar Cooper Jr., that's what you want to see from a number one overall quarterback. And the way he's wired between the ears, I just can't see him being a bust. At the minimum, I think he's going to be league average. And that might be because of his tools that aren't all there. But, he's kind of similar to Daniel Jones where he can move, but he's not quick. But get him in a straight line and he can run. So for a Raiders team, they add Tyler Linderbaum in free agency, $27 million a year, reset the market by $9 million, I believe, which is absolutely crazy. But you get a veteran center in there to work with a rookie quarterback. I think that makes sense. There's talks that they want a veteran to come in here, so maybe Mendoza doesn't have to start day one. I think that's ridiculous. If you're taking a quarterback no more overall, he's starting day one. And Fernando Mendoza has a ton of experience in college and just led the Hoosiers to an undefeated national championship season. So this guy is not raw by any stretch of the means. He does not have to sit like an Anthony Richardson had to sit. You know what I mean? So this should be their day one starting quarterback. And, this just makes too much sense for the Raiders. All right, number 2 here. Oh, I just spoiled number 3, but it's okay. Number 2, the Jets. I'm going to go David Bailey, the edge out of Texas Tech. Now, if I had a gun to my head and I had to predict which edge the Jets would take, Bailey or Reese right now, I'd probably give the slight edge to Reese. But I'm going Bailey because I think when it's all said and done, the Jets are going to think to themselves, let's get the guy that's a proven pass rush commodity in David Bailey, who led FBS with 14.5 sacks for the Red Raiders last season. Instead of taking a project like Arll Reese, not that he's a project as a player, don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm saying, but you have to have a plan for him at the edge, and he needs to develop there full time. And when he did have the opportunity to rush off the edge, he was great for the Buckeyes, as was Sonny Styles, right? They both were awesome. But I don't know, with Aaron Glenn, I just think he's going to want to go with a guy like David Bailey that is just more of a filled out, bigger defensive end after losing Jermaine Johnson, trading him to the Titans for Tavondre Sweat to play in the interior, replace a little bit of that production you lost from Quinnen Williams. I don't know. I'm going to go with David Bailey right now, but this is absolutely a coin flip in my mind. And whoever doesn't go number 2, I think is going to go number 3 to the Arizona Cardinals. Arll Reese, edge, Ohio State. With the addition of Tyler Algier, I don't think they're going to go Jeremiah Love. However, Tyler Algier ran for 1,000 yards as a rookie, and then the Falcons took Bijan Robinson at 8th overall. So he's been in this seat before. I don't think they're going to go tackle either because they got Paris Johnson at left tackle, who they took in the first round a couple years back. They need a right tackle, but need doesn't necessarily meet the value here. You're not going to go with Maui Noah at 3. That feels like a big reach to me, even though he's my number 1 offensive lineman in this class. I think he'll stick at right tackle. Some teams might kick him inside to guard. Like, for example, the Giants, if they were to go Maui Noah at 5, he'd start off at right guard and then be your long-term solution at right tackle. I don't think that's what you're going to do here at number 3 overall. That's just feels like a reach to me, and they definitely need help in the pass rush department. Josh Sweat needs a running mate. They were bottom 12 in the league in sacks last year. So for a guy like Arll Reese that ran a 4.46, yeah, you pair him with Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle he took out of Ole Miss in the first round last year, and with Josh Sweat, and it's like, okay, I'm starting to dig what Arizona's got up front, and it just seems like that's the pick they're going to make. And it's a premium position. It makes a ton of sense for the Arizona Cardinals to go Arll Reese at number 3 overall. Number 4, this is where it gets interesting in my mind, right? Like, I think, of course, Mendoza's going 1. I think Bailey, Reese are going to go 2, 3. Pick your order. 4 is where things can get interesting because the Titans could go on the defensive side of the ball, though they made a ton of free agency moves up front. I'm going to go Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame. Several reasons here. You add Jermaine Johnson, you add John Franklin Myers to that defensive front. Do I think that takes him out of an edge? No. If the Cardinals go Sonny Styles at number 3, I think that the Titans could go Arll Reese or David Bailey at 4, whoever's available. I don't think it takes him out of the running there. They added Wan'Dale Robinson, but as a Giants fan myself, he's a slot receiver guy, right? They still don't have that alpha X receiver on the outside. So I think Carnell Tate is certainly in play. But then again, if I'm thinking about what they need for Cam Ward, and this pick in my mind has to be offense to support Cam Ward after what they've done the defensive side of the ball. And I know Brian Daboll is going to be pounding the table to get his guy another weapon to help him develop. We know he showed a lot of flashes last year, but he didn't have a lot of help. Ioane had a pretty solid rookie year. Chimere Dike also had a pretty solid rookie year, although most of that was in the return department. Calvin Ridley is back on a reworked 1-year deal. So they have bodies in the receiver room, with Wan'Dale Robinson included. I could see them cutting Tony Pollard and taking Jeremiah Love to pair with Tyjae Spears because he's arguably the number 1 player in the draft, and he's a playmaker, not just a running back. Right? When taking Carnell Tate here, like, I don't want to say it's a reach, but he's just not as clean or as elite of a prospect as Jeremiah Love. And there's some rumors going around that Brian Daboll is in full bloom love with Jeremiah Love. And I mean, the guy is he ran a 4.36 40-yard dash. That's Jahmyr Gibbs speed. He's 15 pounds heavier. He's running routes at the combine as a receiver. He's got phenomenal hands. His pass protection improved drastically in 2025. He's a step below Saquon and Bijan in my mind, but he's ahead of Gibbs. I think he's better than Genty. I think he's going to be a better back in the league than Ashton Genty, went 6th overall last year. So I think Jeremiah Love's absolute floor is the Giants at 5, because we just saw the Saints add Travis Etienne, the Chiefs add Kenneth Walker, and then the Commanders just added Rachaad White and Jerome Ford. So they got bodies in there. Now, granted, does that deter them from taking Jeremiah Love at 7 if he's there? No, I don't think so. I think if he's there at 7, the Commanders would take him. I just don't think he gets past the Giants at 5. But for the Titans, this pick just makes a lot of sense to me. And for everyone that's like, oh, running back in the top 5, trust me, I hear you. I understand that entire argument. For me, it's only warranted if that running back is a playmaker that you could line up at receiver like the Falcons do with Bijan, the Lions do with Gibbs, and what the Titans in this scenario would do with Jeremiah Love. I just think it makes a ton of sense. And it's about supporting that quarterback, Cam Ward. Because if the Titans a year from now go 6-11 and they have an elite defense, but Cam Ward's still shaky, you're not really confident heading into 2027. You still are like, oh, Ward's shown a lot. He's shown flashes, but is he our guy? Can he get us back to atop the division and making deep playoff runs again? But if they go 6-11 and Cam Ward and Jeremiah Love are freaking awesome, and the defense on the back end is letting them down, they're letting up a ton of points, I feel like as a Titans fan, you take the latter rather than the former there. I think you'd want your offense to be more explosive and having promise with Cam Ward. So that's why I'm going to go Jeremiah Love here, the running back out of Notre Dame. And I think the fact that those teams later on signed running backs means they didn't think Jeremiah Love was going to fall to him. All right, number 5, my New York Giants. We're going Sonny Styles, the linebacker out of Ohio State, who may have had the best combine performance of all time, up there with Calvin Johnson type of performance. They were putting his metrics side by side with Calvin Johnson. Guy's an absolute freak. The Giants are in a very interesting spot, and I love what they've done in free agency, man. As a Giants fan, it's just freaking awesome because you don't feel like they have to go with a certain position at number 5 overall. Bringing back Jermaine Illuminor was the number 1 move they made all offseason. Absolutely. 3 years, $39 million? Are you kidding me? $13 million a year for a top 5 pass protecting right tackle in football? What a awesome deal. And now you're not sitting here at number 5 overall where it's like, we got to go Francis Maui-Noah because we need a right tackle. We don't have one. Now, could they go Francis Maui-Noah here at 5? Absolutely. They could start him at right guard. There's still a hole at right guard. I think they're going to bring back Greg Van Roten, who was solid last year. I mean, the 2025 Giants offensive line was the best offensive line they've had in a decade, right? And you saw that with Jackson Dart, without Scattaboo for half the season, without Neighbors for even longer. He played a half with Neighbors. The Giants had the most explosive offense they've had in years. It's because the offensive line was the best it's been in years. And Andrew Thomas stayed healthy at left tackle, right? And they finally had some stability and chemistry. So can they go Maui-Noah and play him at right guard and be the long-term answer right tackle? Sure, they can. Could they go Jeremiah Love if he's here? Absolutely, they can go Jeremiah Love to pair with Scattaboo. That'd be an awesome 1-2 punch. Are you kidding me? And I'd be on board for that because I don't think John Harbaugh is going to go with a wide receiver 2 at number 5. It's just not the type of style of football that he plays. It's not the type of draft picks he's made in the past. And when you consider they just brought on Darnell Mooney to a 1-year up to $10 million deal, I love that. They added Calvin Austin to play the slot to replace Wan'Dale Robinson. They added Isaiah Likely to be that big slot. I think they're going to run way more 2 tight end sets here. And you still have Darius Slayton, who I know many Giants fans are not thrilled with right now. He's got the drops, let's be honest. He dropped a lot of balls in 2025 that Jackson Dart's highlight tape would look a lot better if Slayton brought down even half of those passes. So I don't see them going receiver. I think ultimately it's going to be Sonny Styles or Jeremiah Love, whichever one's on the board, because you could argue these are 2 of the top 2 or 3 prospects in the entire draft. I know Todd McShay has Jeremiah Love number 1 and Sonny Styles number 2. I think Daniel Jeremiah has Sonny Styles in the top 3. Like, that's just the type of caliber player you're getting, and it's not a premium position. I get it, but you know what? A star middle linebacker as the general of your defense, that sounds pretty premium to me. And John Harbaugh, based on what he's done in the past, you know, going from Ray Lewis to drafting C.J. Mosley in the first round, to drafting Patrick Queen in the first round, to trading for Roquan Smith, he understands the value of a stud linebacker in the middle of that defense. And Tremaine Edmonds does not deter them from taking Sonny Styles. And they brought back Micah McFadden on a 1-year deal, who's a solid player. Unfortunately, had a foot injury in week 1 last year and missed all year. And the Giants' run defense was the second worst in football. Like, they missed him absolutely. There's no interior defensive lineman worth taking at number 5. So let's go Sonny Styles, who's 6'5", 245 pounds, and ran a 4.46. That sounds pretty freaking good to me. And when you think about his length, his wingspan, with Tremaine Edmonds, who's also a physical specimen, who's tall, big, and long, great in coverage. I mean, Edmonds had 4 picks last year. Who's throwing over the middle of the field when you have Sonny Styles and Tremaine Edmonds, those 2 monsters at linebacker, behind Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, and Brian Burns, and TBD on Kayvon Thibodeau? We'll see. Man, I'm digging that defensive front for my New York Giants. And I know it's the same argument I just used for the Titans to get a weapon, that the Giants could get a weapon. That's why I think Jeremiah Love would be the pick here if the Titans go another route. I just don't see them adding a Carnell Tate at number 5, given the 4 guys they have in the receiver room right now, and that they want to run 2 tight end sets, and you already got a true alpha number 1 in Malik Neighbors. All right, let's move on. The Cleveland Browns. Monroe Freeling, tackle out of Georgia. I feel really good about this one. Want to know why? You look at what the Browns have done in free agency, right? They traded for Titus Howard to be their right tackle. They had Elgin Jenkins from the Packers to be their center. They re-signed Tevin Jenkins to be their guard. They're set at 4 spots along the offensive line now, which, I mean, by the way, you got to give credit to Barry because that's a difficult task, because rebuilding an entire offensive line in one off season. But are you going to roll with DeJuan Jones at left tackle? They took out Ohio State, more of a developmental guy a couple years back. He struggled to stay healthy. I mean, he's a monster of a man. He's like 6'8". But for me, man, I think this has got to be Monroe Freeling. He's the number 1 true left tackle in the draft. I think Francis Maui Noah is a cleaner prospect. I think he's a better player. He certainly has shown more on tape, but he's a right tackle. You can't kick him over to left. It's just not going to work out. Spencer Fano, his arms are too short. He's probably going to kick inside of the interior. Kadyn Proctor, there's some red flags there for Kadyn Proctor. He's not top 10 caliber, right? Monroe Freeling started 1 season. I believe it was 17 games, maybe 18 games at the University of Georgia. He's 6'7", 315 pounds. And boy, does this guy have all the tools you need to be a premier number 1 left tackle in the NFL. Now, granted, on tape, there were times that he was embarrassed. He had some bad games. He had some rough games. I'm not denying that. But just think about another tackle from Georgia, the team I just mentioned, my New York Giants. I know very well what it's like to take a tackle in the top 6. The Giants took Andrew Thomas 4th overall out of Georgia, and be like, damn, I don't know if he's ready to go right now. It's not the sexiest pick going with the tackle. Feels like a reach. And then he comes out of the gate and he struggles a little bit. And you're like, damn, did we whiff? But boy, oh boy, Andrew Thomas had all the tools, and now he's one of the top 3 to 5 left tackles in all of football. He's all pro caliber. He's dominant, right? The Browns are in a situation where they could do a similar thing. Let Freeling get his feet wet in year 1, his rookie year. The Browns don't give a shit about 2026. Let's be honest. They're just trying to see who their young core is developed with. And hey, maybe Shedeur Sanders is our guy. Maybe Deshaun Watson, I doubt it, figures it out and gets back to what he was. It's not going to happen. Browns are thinking about that quarterback class in 2027, in my opinion. So here, let's get the left tackle in place a year before that quarterback so he can develop and take those lumps. And now when your quarterback steps in, he could grow with that left tackle for the next decade plus. I think the Browns would be wise to go Freeling here. And I think they're actually in a good spot because no one in the top 5 is going to take Freeling. So it's almost like, and the way the Browns have approached free agency, it almost makes me think that they know they're going to take Freeling here at 6. And I know wide receiver could be an option here, Carnell Tate, but go receiver at 24. Don't go receiver at 6. Take your tackle at 6 because you're probably not going to like the tackle options that are available for you at 24. All right, moving on here. The Commanders at number 7. There he is, Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate could go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Anywhere from that range, I could see Carnell Tate going and being a good fit. We're going to go with the Commanders here at number 7. How about that? 2 Buckeyes, Terry McLaurin passing the baton off to Carnell Tate to be the next number 1 option for Jaden Daniels. I love it. I love it. Tate's definitely my number 1 receiver in this class. A little bit overshadowed by Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State, as any receiver would be. Jeremiah Smith is going to be a top 3 pick next year, I believe, unless it's a big run on quarterbacks, which would be something else. But Carnell Tate is a dog in his own right, man. I'm not concerned about the 4.53 40 time. There's been a lot of great receivers in the league that ran in the 4.5s. I don't care. That's not really his game. But he can get downfield. He can get over top. He makes contested catches like the best of them. He's the number 1 guy in terms of jump balls in this class. I believe I saw he wins over 70% of his one-on-one balls. 50-50 balls, but they're actually 70-30 balls for Carnell Tate. He improved his route running drastically in the 2025 season. He's a former 5-star recruit, and those guys with that pedigree typically pan out when they have the college career that Carnell Tate had. And hey, Ohio State wide receivers typically pan out, as the Commanders fans would know, with Terry McLaurin. Deebo Samuel's a free agent. He looks gone. And I have in here in the article, Brandon Ayuk. Talk about Brandon Ayuk. We're getting a lot of comments on our mock drafts. Like, oh, the Commanders aren't going to go receiver because Reagan just took Jordan Tyson here at number 7 in the last mock 8.0, which is absolutely cooking, over 6,000 views. So thank you guys. But Brandon Ayuk's not stopping you from taking a receiver in the top 10. How can you rely upon Brandon Ayuk? He got a 4-year, $120 million contract from the San Francisco 49ers, a team where he's been to the Super Bowl with, right? He hurts his knee. He butchers his rehab. He's not going to the facility, kind of gives up on his team and his teammates. Granted, there's two sides to every story, so maybe he feels slighted by something that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan did. I don't know. But I just think it's hard to... And then he posted a video of him speeding by the stadium, incriminating himself. Like, that's just dumb. What? You're going to bank on that guy being your wide receiver too? And you think all of a sudden he's going to come back and be that 1,000-yard receiver again? I'd much rather take that flyer on a cheap prove-it deal, low risk, high reward, as your wide receiver 3 with Terry McLaurin and Carnell Tate. Brandon Ayuk, that's a pretty good trio if it works out that way, right? And Jaden Daniels coming off that elbow injury, he was so good as a rookie, but you can't deny it. He needs help. He needs another weapon out there. Sure, could the Commanders go defense? Yeah, but they made a lot of moves along the defensive side of the ball, adding K'Lavon Chaisson from the Patriots, who really broke out the back half of last year. So I think they're going to go offense here to support Jaden Daniels. So let's go Carnell Tate. Number 8, the New Orleans Saints. Feels like whatever pick we make for the Saints in our mocks, the Saints fans are not happy. They don't like Ruben Bain. They don't really want a receiver. That's okay. I hear you. I've been digging into the depth chart. I've been seeing the moves they made. Let's go Mansoor, Delane, cornerback out of LSU, staying in the great state of Louisiana. The number 1 corner in this class, bar none. Absolutely the number 1 corner. It's not even close. Jermon McCoy, you compare his 24 tape to 25 Mansoor Delane's tape? All right. We can have a conversation on who the number 1 corner is. But McCoy did not play in 2025, did not work out at the combine. Supposedly, teams are pissed off at his agent because he's directing him to do these things and not get on the field. I don't get it. But Delane, therefore, is the number 1 corner. And this is a really fun fit, actually, that I think about it, because he stays in Louisiana. And the Saints really need help at corner. I really thought about Ruben Bain here, and I've done that in the past. Saints fans not happy. They're like, we're not going to take Ruben Bain. We got Chase Young, maybe Cameron Jordan comes back. I'm like, all right. I hear you. I do think they could go Bain here. The reason I don't have Bain going here is not because of anything Saints fans have said to me. I absolutely think like pass rusher and defensive line's a need for the Saints. It's those short arms, man. I think he's going to fall out of the top 10 because those short arms. It's just such an outlier that I think they're going to go with a safer pick here and go Mansoor Delane in the corner. I do like Kool-Aid McKinstry. Solid player. Isaac Yiadom. That ain't going to fly with me. They need an upgrade, especially when you consider the receivers that are in the NFC South. Drake London, Tet McMillan, Emeka Ibuka, Chris Godwin. No Mike Evans anymore. So at least that's a big win for Saints fans. But yeah, we're going to go Mansoor Delane. They got to upgrade that cornerback room and replace Marshawn Lattimore. They have not been able to find that production since he was traded to the Commanders. All right, number 9, Kansas City Chiefs. Boy, this one's a fascinating pick. Delane would have absolutely been in play if he did not go number 8 here. Obviously, they traded Trent McDuffie to the Rams, and then, all Chiefs fans like, that's fine. Trade him now. Don't want to pay him. We'll re-sign Jalen Watson, and it's all good. Oh, no. The Rams, they signed away Jalen Watson. Pretty crazy. So Mansoor Delane absolutely in play for the Chiefs there at 9. Edge rushers in play. Karlaftis. Chiefs fans not too pleased with him. Not too pleased with his production in 2025. I don't know what's going on there. Pass rusher definitely in play. Receiver. Could they go receiver? I think so. Hollywood Brown's been a bit of a dud for him. Xavier Worthy, very inconsistent last year. Also, a very unique skill set he has that doesn't deter you from taking receiver, a different one. And Rashee Rice, what an awesome player when he's on the field. But boy, oh boy, the guy can't stay out of his own way off the field. Who knows if he's going to jail or not. Receivers in play. However, you got to protect Patrick Mahomes, guys. You got to protect Patrick Mahomes. Francis Maui Noah, right tackle out of Miami. Oh, this is such a good fit, dude. I love it. Jawan Taylor is gone. That experience did not work out. They paid him a shit ton of money. It just felt like he was making dumb penalties, offsides, holdings in the worst moments, false starts, jumping the gun. Lining up in the backfield. What a mess. And that's coming from a Gators fan, too. Jawan Taylor, former Gator. Go Gators. The Chiefs really need to protect Patrick Mahomes, who is coming off a torn ACL. And both times they've lost in the Super Bowl with Mahomes, the opposing pass rush has just gone after him in Tampa Bay and Philadelphia. So let's shore up the right tackle spot. And Maui Noah, who's my number one tackle in this class, his arms are long enough. He was dominant in the college football playoffs. Hey, and I'm sure Kenneth Walker is going to love this pick as well, because Maui Noah is also a mauler in the run game, and that's going to pave the way for Walker. I'd expect the Chiefs to switch up their offense a little bit this year. If they draft Maui Noah with the addition of Kenneth Walker, you have the bodies to run more of a power run game, right? Just feels like they're always out of the shotgun running draws to Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, and their run blocking was not good. Their backs were not explosive. It was redundant. It was boring. It's not a creative run game. Let's get Patrick under center a little bit here and hand the ball off to Walker with some of these big bodies up front now. I love this pick. Maui Noah, awesome pick. All right, another pick I love here, Cincinnati Bengals. It's got to be defense, right? Caleb Downs. Let's do it. Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State, staying in the great state of Ohio. And this one just makes too much sense. Caleb Downs is a top 5 prospect in this class. No doubt about it. I know that knee shit came out. I don't really know how much I'm buying that, because it could just be one doctor's opinion where it's like, this could be a problem long-term with this knee. It could also be a team purposefully leaking that and embellishing it a bit to try to get Downs to fall to him. I don't know. Sounds like something Jerry Jones would do. I'm no detective, but I could see the Cowboys doing that because they would love Caleb Downs at 12 overall. So I'm not really buying all that. But for where a safety usually goes, and look, the Giants, this could be in play at 5. If he doesn't go to the Giants at 5, I think he's fallen to 10 to the Bengals. The Giants, though, have Javon Holland, Tyler Nubin still under contract. They had our Darius Washington and Jason Pinnock as depth safeties. So they got a lot of bodies in the safety room that I don't think it stops them from taking Downs if he's truly number one on their board. But I don't think they're going to go safety, which now leaves the Bengals in this situation where it kind of falls right into their lap. And it's exactly what they need. They took Shamar Stewart last year in the first round, and it was a disappointing rookie year, I'm not going to lie, but he was always more of a projection with his tools, right? He didn't have the production at Texas A&M. So could Ruben Bain be in play here? Yeah, I think absolutely. But I don't know if you want to go with a project on one edge and Shamar Stewart and then a short arm guy like Ruben Bain at the other edge. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like that's what the Bengals are going to do. And I think just going with Caleb Downs is such a safe pick, and it changes the entire outlook of that defense because he's going to step in day one and be a leader, right? He's going to change the culture on the back half of that defense and become that guy to set the tone. And I think that's something that Joe Burrow will appreciate having opposite of him during practice. So Caleb Downs to the Bengals just makes way too much sense. Such an easy pick for me. All right, Miami Dolphins. We're going to go Ruben Bain here, staying in the great state of Miami. He's a tough evaluation, man. I keep talking about him. Short arms really are something, but let's be honest. His production at Miami was phenomenal. He dominated the college football playoff. He's got that junkyard dog mentality. He's a beast in the run game. He's not going to be a double-digit sack guy because that hasn't happened in like multiple decades. A guy with arms shorter than 32 inches at edge being a double-digit sack guy. He's like 30 and change. So he's really not even there. So he'll never be a double-digit sack guy for the Dolphins, but he's just a tone setter, culture changer, and they have so many holes along their roster that they could go so many directions here. They can go receiver, they can go offensive line, they can go edge, they can go DB. They could really go anywhere. But I just think keeping Bain in Miami after releasing Bradley Chubb would be a smart pick, man. And I think the fans would love it. All right, let's move on here. My first trade. Wow, we're going to have the Detroit Lions moving up from 17 to 12 for the Dallas Cowboys. The way that this board has fallen for the Cowboys, Delane's gone, Bain's gone, Downs is gone, the top two edge rushers are gone, Sonny Styles is gone. It's been a run on defensive players almost. And the Cowboys, we know they're going to go defense here. So unfortunately, the board didn't work out for them. I'm not going to get all hung up with the compensation. I mean, day 2 pick from Detroit and a day 3 pick, let's just call it, moving up 5 spots, right? To go get Kadyn Proctor, the tackle out of Alabama. This might feel high. And trust me, I'm uncomfortable having Kadyn Proctor go 12th overall. But the Lions released Taylor Decker, and I just can't wrap my mind around it. They need a left tackle so bad. And it comes down to Kadyn Proctor out of Alabama or Caleb Lomu out of Utah to be that guy. I think they're going to get aggressive. I think they want to go get their guy. And I think it's going to be Kadyn Proctor because, he's a former 5-star recruit. He started all 3 years at Alabama, I believe. And, there's definitely things he needs to clean up in his pass protection and his lower body and his technique. There's no doubt about it. But damn, dude, Detroit just feels like such a great spot for him. Just with that mentality that Dan Campbell institutes and the guys they have on that offensive line and Penny Sewell kind of being a little bit of a mentor for him. What better spot for Kadyn Proctor to reach his full potential with the Detroit Lions? And if everything does pan out and the stars align and Proctor develops and cleans things up, damn, Proctor and Penny Sewell would be, wow, what a duo that would be at the tackle positions to protect Jared Goff and pave the way for Jahmyr Gibbs. Just feels like a Lions pick to me. 13, the Los Angeles Rams. Rams fans, we hear you. Reagan went offensive line for you guys, and you were not happy. You were not happy. It's okay, because I never go offensive line for the Rams. I'm going to go Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver out of USC. Another fit. Another guy staying in his collegiate state. Kind of just worked out that way. I wasn't planning it. Maybe I did with Bain. I was like, yeah, that's a great fit. Delane to the Saints, I guess, too. And now Lemon to the Rams. I mean, the Rams are in talks with the Eagles for A.J. Brown. If that doesn't tell you that just having Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams is enough, I don't know what to tell you, man. I think they want another weapon for Matthew Stafford, absolutely. Could Kenyon Sadiq be a pick here at 13? I think for sure. He's in the conversation if McVay's in love with him. But I'm going to go with Mekhi Lemon because the Rams already have multiple really solid tight ends, Parkinson, Higbee, and they love to run 12 and 13 personnel. I don't, even though Sadiq's more of a big slot, right? Like an Isaiah Likely type of mold. But I'm going to go with the actual guy that could play in the slot and also on the outside, and Mekhi Lemon, who won the Blinkentoff Award for a reason, beating out Jeremiah Smith. He had a phenomenal season. He's a dog against man and zone. 4.53 speed. It's fine. It's around what Amon-Ra ran. That's fine. He's not a burner. He's more quick than he is fast, right? And he knows how to get open. He wins with leverage. He's awesome with the ball in his hands after the catch. He can make people miss. I mean, he's scored from 60, 70 yards out. Mekhi Lemon to the Rams. Wow. What a fun fit, man. That's the best wide receiver trio in football. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. All right, 14. The Baltimore Ravens. Oh, man. Good luck making any trades, Ravens. Teams, agents, you lost a lot of trust around the league. We're going to go Vega Ioane, the guard out of Penn State here for the Ravens. That, yes, if you can read the mock right there. I actually had him penciled in for the Raiders, and I had to tweak the mock. And I was like, well, guard is such a big need for both teams that it just kind of fits that I could just leave Vega here at 14 and give him to the Ravens. The guards positions for the Ravens last year were shaky at best. And that was with having Linderbaum at center. Now you don't even have Linderbaum. So that interior offensive line is fairly weak right now as it stands. And you're a team with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry that wants to hang their hat on running the football. So for me, this pick is going to be offensive line. However, I could see them going defensive line as well. Despite adding Trey Hendrickson, they still need some pass rush help on that side. Ruben Bain would make a lot of sense if he falls to 14. But Vega Ioane is arguably the number one offensive lineman in the class. He's a guard, so he's not going to go top 5 most likely. Although Giants at 5, I mean, that'd be very interesting. I think that's his absolute ceiling. But Vega, I mean, he's got all-pro potential. Some offensive line guys that I trust. Steve mentioned he has him as the number 1 guard prospect since Quentin Nelson. That's how clean his tape is. That's how dominant he is. That's how good he is. So we're going to go Vega Ioane at 14 to the Ravens. Just makes way too much sense. 15, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Boy, Kenyon Sadiq could be such a fun fit here, but I couldn't do it. I had to go edge, and I'm going to go Keldric Faulk, edge out of Auburn. Damn. The Bucs got cute last year. They added Emeka Egbuka in the first round, who I actually really like as a player. I think he's going to be awesome. I know he really tapered off the back half of last season, but I'm not concerned heading into this year with no Mike Evans around. Egbuka is going to have a massive role with Baker Mayfield. But there's no doubt the Bucs, they could stop the run. That's for sure. With what they got in the interior in Vita Vea and Kalijah Cansey, former first rounder out of Pittsburgh. And, linebackers in play. I just don't know if a linebacker is worth going here at 15, although CJ Allen is a little tempting as well. They really need someone that could rush the passer. And Faulk, he's not the cleanest prospect at edge in terms of what he's done production-wise at Auburn. But he's 6'6", 285 pounds. He can play inside. He can play outside. He's an absolute tank in the run game. So, again, good luck running the ball against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Still has a lot to unlock in the pass rushing department. But with the help that he's got in the interior, I think this would be a great landing spot for him to try to do so. And, Hassan Reddick was a big miss for the Bucs. They keep trying to patch it over. It's about time that they get a guy, and they failed with Joe Troyan-Shayanka in the past as well in the first round. But I think it's about time that they take a guy with a premium pick at the edge rusher. All right, 16, New York Jets. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State. Look, some people are starting to talk about him being the number 1 receiver in the class based purely on his tape and his production and what he's done. This guy knows how to get open. Do yourself a favor. Go on X right now and look up a clip of Jordan Tyson just getting open. You'll find a couple videos that are several minutes long of just Jordan Tyson just cooking dudes with this route running. It's nasty. The only reason he's going here at 16 is durability. He'd be a top 10 pick if he was able to stay in the field. Torn ACL, broken collarbone, chronic hammy issues. It's a problem, man. It's a problem. For the Jets here, this makes a ton of sense. You already got 2 bookend tackles in Olu Fashanu and Armand Membu. He took the first round last year. Now, Vega Ioane would be an awesome pick here, too, to put him next to Olu. Oh, that'd be so... The Penn State guys, oh, now you're so set at offensive line. But there's no other guard worth taking here, in my opinion. So we go Jordan Tyson. 2 bookend tackles, Garrett Wilson, Jordan Tyson, and we'll see with Breece Hall. He's on the franchise tag. But for whatever quarterback the Jets are going to plug in here in 2027, that's a pretty good situation, man. That's pretty good. I can't really complain about that. So the Jets would be wise to add Jordan Tyson here, despite the injury concerns, because the talent is just too good to pass up on. And hey, Jordan Tyson and David Bailey, it's a pretty good haul for the Jets, man. 17, Cowboys move back, and they take Dylan Thiedemann, safety out of Oregon. Yeah, I mean, the board was not pretty for them at 12, so let's just move back. What was it? We had 1 edge rusher, Tyson, Vega, Lemon. I mean, that worked out pretty well for the Cowboys moving back, picking up some extra picks to get some more guys in that defense. And let's have Dylan Thiedemann, safety out of Oregon. This guy tore up the combine, dude. Destroyed it. 4.3 and change speed, versatility to play deep safety, maybe work down the slot. I know that Cowboys fans are pretty thrilled with the addition of Jalen Thompson, but they still need help here, man. And look, I thought about McCoy. Reason I didn't go McCoy. Jerry Jones says he's done with redshirt players. Like, he knows he's running out of time. He wants guys that are ready to play now. That's why I faded McCoy and went with Thiedemann here, who's ready to go right now, and we'll start in that secondary from day one. I know they need corner. Deron Bland is not panned out. No more Trayvon Diggs. I get it. But Thiedemann can kind of play in the slot a little bit and still help you out covering receivers. So I think this makes a ton of sense for the Cowboys. All right, at 18, the Vikings. There he is, Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon. 4.39 at 6'3", 240. Are you kidding me? That is disgusting. Wow, the Vikings really are looking for playmakers. They brought in Kyler Murray to compete with J.J. McCarthy, which I don't think there's going to be much of a competition. I think the fact they brought in Kyler Murray, they brought in Sam Darnold when McCarthy's a rookie. McCarthy got hurt. Darnold was amazing. Then they were like, all right, let's roll with McCarthy. And that was clearly the GM's decision, not KOC's decision. And they rolled McCarthy, and they are not that great of a football team. They still weren't that bad. But the quarterback was the reason they were there. And then immediately, GM fired, KOC wants to bring in another veteran quarterback. Kyler Murray's the next reclamation project, and I think he's actually do really well in Minnesota next year. We'll see once Call of Duty Black Ops comes out, or Modern Warfare. I don't know which one it is next year, but you get it when Call of Duty comes out. We'll see what happens with Kyler Murray. But they want more weapons. I'm hearing a lot of things that if Jeremiah Love starts to slip, the Vikings are going to move up and go get him. I could see that. That'd be a fun fit. Jeremiah Love, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. But in this scenario, we're going to go Kenyon Sadiq. TJ Hawkinson's pretty washed up right now, let's be honest. Sadiq is not on the caliber of Loveland and Warren of last year, who went 10th and 15th overall, respectively. We got Sadiq going 18th, but that speed is just too much to pass up on. He's going to be a big slot for you. He's disrespected in terms of his run blocking. He's better than what people give him credit for, although that's not his strong suit. And there were some talks, according to Todd McShay, that his attitude wasn't necessarily great at Oregon last year. That they liked him better when he was the number 2 because he was working harder to get to the 1. And then once he was the 1, he was kind of like, I'm the man now, and the work ethic wasn't the same. He wasn't as locked in, right? So those are some concerns with Sadiq, which is why I could see him sliding a little bit to 18. But I think he can go as high as 13 to the Rams here. And this would be a fun fit for Minnesota. All right, 19, Carolina Panthers. Just want to say, I love what they're doing in Carolina, building up that roster, man. What a great free agency. Jalen Phillips, granted, bit of an overpay in my opinion, but they lost out on Milton Williams last year. And we're like, we're not going to miss out another guy that we want from the Eagles defensive line. So they get Jalen Phillips and then Devin Lloyd, the number 1 linebacker, they add to the middle of that defense. Really gives them options here at 19. I'm going to go with Jermon McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee. At this point in time of the draft, the talent is too good to pass up on, man. Too good. I talked about him earlier, why he's sliding, why he is here, why he's here, based on, Delane going earlier and how Delane's the clear number 1 corner. But now at 19 overall, it's just too good. It's too good. If McCoy is healthy, can work out at his pro day and show what he's got, because that 2024 tape was nuts. He was the number 1 corner in the country, arguably. Wow. If he hit his ceiling with J.C. Horn, that's such an elite duo potential for Carolina, man. And they're building up front. Derek Brown, Jalen Phillips now, Devin Lloyd at linebacker, 2 shutdown corners. Potentially, McCoy hits his ceiling because we know how good J.C. Horn is. Damn, that defense for Carolina could be scary. Could be scary. Now, if Sadiq doesn't go 18, watch for him at 19. I think that's his floor. Because, some Panthers fans trying to tell me we don't need tight end. I'm like, all right, Jatavion Sanders is stopping you from taking a talent of Kenyon Sadiq. Not even close to the same caliber of player, let alone play style. Sanders is much bigger. He's going to line up in line. Sadiq's going to line up in the slot most of the time. It doesn't even make sense. Some people, man, they don't know what they're talking about. But another weapon for Bryce Young, I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world. Receiver just feels rich after going Leggett and Tet in the first rounds. And you got to give credit to Jalen Coker, undrafted free agent that has now taken the place of Xavier Leggett, which is pretty nuts. 20, the Cowboys back on the clock. So we just took Thieneman here at 17. We're going to do it 20. We're going to go C.J. Allen, linebacker out of Georgia. All right, Cowboys swung and missed on Nakobe Dean, former Georgia linebacker. I believe they were interested in Quay Walker, too, another former Georgia linebacker. Both those guys went to the Raiders. Cowboys know they need a running mate for DeMarion Overshown, who in his rookie year was playing fantastic ball. Just looked like another big hit for Jerry down the board until I believe he tore his ACL, and then he came back like mid-year last year. which was good because he got some run in. He knocked some rust off, and now he's got a full off season to get ready to go. They want a running mate for Overshown very badly, and I think number 20 is the prime spot to do that because, in my opinion, the only real threat you have of Allen going earlier is Tampa Bay at 15. I don't know if any of these other teams are going to take a linebacker. So we're going to go with Allen here. Green dot potential. I mean, leader of that Georgia defense. The guy's a stud. He's a thumper. He's really freaking good, man. And, Georgia defensive players usually pan out. Take a corner from LSU. Take a receiver from Ohio State. Take a front seven player from Georgia. It usually just pans out. All right, 21 here. Steelers. We go Spencer Fano, offensive lineman out of Utah. Another team. I really like what they've done in free agency. They traded for Michael Pittman because the Colts were in a buy, and they had to pay Alec Pierce to keep him. And you can't pay both Pittman and Pierce. So they had to trade him. The Steelers just flipped spots on day 3, and it was around 6 or 7. No, 6, 7. My bad, guys. Around 6 or 7 that they flopped spots, and they had Michael Pittman as the wide receiver too with DK Metcalf. Love that move. Big fan of Michael Pittman, man. Big fan. Does that stop them from taking a receiver here? No, it doesn't. Initially, I had penciled in Denzel Boston, but that playing style is not what you need now because Pittman can work inside and outside, but he's a bigger body. He's like 6'4". We know Metcalf's a monster. They lost Calvin Austin. What they need is a slot receiver. Could they go Omar Cooper? They could. I think it's a little rich. I don't see that. I don't think that's what Steelers are going to do because there's a plethora of receivers with different flavors in the second and third round that I think that's where they can go with like a Zachariah Branch or Jeremy Bernard type of player, right? So I'm going to go offensive line. Spencer Fano out of Utah. The biggest question for this team really is quarterback. They're not going to go Ty Simpson here. They're not doing it. Steelers fans, don't you worry. They're not going Ty Simpson. I think Rodgers is going to come back and, maybe Will Howard gets a run. But they need to protect whoever is there. And Spencer Fano, for me, I know he was getting mocked in the top 5, top 10 for a while. That arm length is very concerning. If you're one of those people that shit on Will Campbell, left tackle of the Patriots for short arms, and he struggled for sure at times last year, particularly in the postseason. Fano's arms are even shorter. Right? So you're not playing him at tackle. Granted, if you have an injury, could he kick outside and be kind of swing tackle? Sure, but it's not ideal, right? It's not where you want him to hone in on. But he could play really any of the 5 positions. So for the Steelers, he could play center. He could play either guard spot. He's just too good of a player to pass up on at this point, and that versatility, I think, would be very welcomed in Pittsburgh. And I think they just really need to shore up front for whoever that quarterback's going to be. All right, 22 here. Chargers, Caleb Lomu, offensive lineman out of Utah. That's back-to-back Utah offensive lineman. Lomu, Fanu, both had top 10 buzz before the season. Arm lengths weren't necessarily there. Lomu kind of took a step back in 2025. Didn't really get there, but he was playing left tackle at Utah. I see him kicking inside the guard here for the Chargers. There's such a philosophy from John Harbaugh that it starts in the trenches, right? And Mekhi Becton didn't work out. It's unfortunate. I thought that'd be the home run for them. And, they released him. Zion Johnson's gone. They gave Trevor Penning an extension, former first-round pick from the New Orleans Saints, who started at tackles, now moved inside the guard because it didn't really work out very well for him. They just brought in Cole Strange, former first-round pick from the New England Patriots at guard. He was with Mike McDaniel in Miami last year. So they have guys on the interior, but they don't have long-term solutions. And in this scenario, we're set at Slater at left tackle and Alt at right tackle. Lomu makes so much sense for the same reason that I used to have Kadyn Proctor in this slot, is that he could be your guy if one of your tackles goes down to kick outside and take over that role. But in the meantime, he can compete at guard with either Penning or Strange and start over one of them, because I don't think they want to roll in the season with Penning and Strange. They're 2 starting guards protecting Justin Herbert. We know how beat up he got last year. Marion Hampton got hurt too. Like, they really need to shore up that offensive line. And whether it's the offensive line or defensive line, I think the Chargers are going to attack the trenches here. All right, Eagles at 23. How about Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, safety out of Toledo? I'm surprised. I have not seen this fit in any mock drafts. If I'm missing it, Eagles fans, let me know in the comments. I have not seen this one. Reed Blankenship is a free agent. Looks like he's gone. They brought in Reek Woolen at corner. The Eagles are totally playing the comp pick game, by the way. They're letting guys walk. They know they couldn't afford them. They had all these void years, and they're getting a shit ton of round 3, 4, 5 picks, right? So they're playing the comp pick game. It makes sense. You got DeJean in the slot. You got Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo, who's one of the best corners in football now. You're set at corner. Let's get a safety over top. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from Toledo. He's 6'3", 210, kind of that Nick Emmon-Worry mold. I could totally see that being a Howie Roseman pick. And he already struck gold picking from the Toledo Rockets. Why not go with another one? Wow. I love this fit. I hate the Eagles, but I love this fit. 24, Cleveland Browns. Casey Concepcion, wide receiver from A&M. All right. I personally like Omar Cooper better. I see the Browns liking Concepcion better because that skill set he has and kind of what they need. He's a burner. He's arguably the fastest receiver in the class. And he did struggle with drops last year at A&M. Absolutely. But him and Marcel Reed were cooking for the Aggies last year, dude. They were. And Concepcion was clearly the number one target. This team is desperate for playmakers. We got them their tackle at 6 instead of receiver because there's plenty of options for receiver here and now at 24. So let's go Concepcion. Whoever it is at quarterback, all right. Newly established offensive line, new building block, left tackle, young Monroe Freeling with such a high ceiling. Jerry Jeudy, I don't see that working out much longer. Cedric Tillman's shown some things. Isaiah Bond made a couple plays downfield as a rookie. Concepcion's a different skill set. He's a burner. And you got Quinshon Judkins in the backfield. Harold Fannin Jr. Boy, what a home run that pick was last year. You look around, you're like, damn, this Browns team's got a pretty fun nucleus of young talent on the offensive side of the ball for probably a quarterback they're going to pluck out of the first round of the 2027 NFL draft. 25 here, Chicago Bears. Peter Woods, defensive lineman, Clemson. This is another one, man. It fell into their lap, made way too much sense. Peter Woods, like basically everyone on Clemson, big step back in 2025. I don't know what happened. I don't know what Dabo was doing. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because he was arguably a top 5 pick for like really early 2026 NFL mock drafts last year before the season. That's how dominant he was in 2024. He slimmed down and did not nearly have as much production in 2025. I think he should beef back up because he's one of those unique guys where beast in the run game, but also in the interior has that pass rushing upside, which is even more rare to find than a dominant edge rusher is a guy like a Chris Jones or a Dexter Lawrence or a Quinnen Williams or a Jeffrey Simmons or Jalen Carter that can rush from the interior and get you near double-digit sacks. Peter Woods has that upside, and we know the Bears have been chomping at the bits to add along that defensive line. They were in on Crosby. I know this isn't an edge rusher, and they've been really trying to find a running mate for Montez Sweat. Gervon Dexter's worked out for him. They took in the second round out of Florida a few years back, but I just think Peter Woods is too good of a value to pass up. And in that division with the Lions and Green Bay, you got to stop the run. So Peter Woods, I think, makes a ton of sense here. 26, Houston Texans, Blake Miller, tackle out of Clemson. Offensive line. Texans got to protect C.J. Stroud, man. He's taken a huge step back each of the previous 2 years since his rookie deal, right? I mean, his rookie year. Protection is absolutely a major cause of that. I'm a fan of Arante Ursary, who they took in the second round of the Minnesota last year. I know they just signed Braden Smith from the Colts. I think it's a 1-year deal. That's not stopping you from taking Blake Miller, who is an Iron Man right tackle for the Clemson Tigers. back-to-back Clemson Tigers. Started 54 games for him. He checks all the boxes for a guy that could be a decade-plus starter in the league. I don't know if he has all-pro potential, but they just got to protect C.J. Stroud, and, Blake Miller can go compete at right tackle right away, and, you start to feel a little bit better about that young offensive line up front for C.J. Stroud. It doesn't matter. If C.J. Stroud doesn't get back to what he was rookie year, that defense can only carry you so far. You need the quarterback to get you over the top, and we know that defense is just unbelievably elite under DeMeco Ryans. 27 here. Ooh, San Francisco 49ers, Omar Cooper Jr. Yes. Niners fans, I know you signed Mike Evans. I know. A 3-year deal that's really structured like a 1-year deal, right? Mike Evans is not even close to the same style of receiver as Omar Cooper Jr., who's not even close to the same style as Ricky Pearsall, right? This is exactly what the Niners do, man. What was it? Year in and year out under Kyle Shanahan. They're in the top 3 in the league in YAC production. That is yards after catch. They're going to run play action with McCaffrey, hit their receivers over the middle, and what they've always done with Kittle, with Debo, with Ayuk, with these guys is Shanahan schemes them up where they get the ball and they can just go. Omar Cooper Jr. is that. He might be the number 1 YAC receiver in this class. That is who he is. Maybe him or Mekhi Lemon, right? He's a dog. Phenomenal fit. Got the pedigree. Just won a national title. Can work out of the slot. He ran in the 4.4s. That was the last box he had to check. He ran in the 4.4. I thought it was a 4.44 is what he ran. Or maybe a 4.42. That's fast. That's really fast. And now you think about the Niners. It's like, okay. Could they go offensive line? Sure. But a lot of tackles have gone in this scenario. A lot of tackles have gone. There's all this with Trent Williams. I don't know. I don't think they're getting the left tackle here. Debo has been gone for over a year. Ayuk is clearly gone. Pearsall can't stay on the field. But when you have a wide receiver trio now, and Juwan Jennings, also a free agent, of Mike Evans, Omar Cooper Jr., and Ricky Pearsall. Ricky dominates man coverage. Omar can win multiple ways. Omar working on the slot, that YAC fit. But McCaffrey, and you got McKittle coming back off the Achilles. I don't know, dude. That's a really fun offense, and I think Brock Purdy's going to pick defenses apart. Shanahan's going to love this pick. I am starting to lean more that Omar Cooper Jr. is not going to be here at 27. 28, Buffalo Bills, Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington. Got a slight little run on wide receivers here in the late 20s. I know they added DJ Moore. I know they got Khalil Shakir. The Bills, believe it or not, have the second most expensive wide receiver room in the league. And you wouldn't think that because everyone's like, they need a receiver. Like, their receivers suck. And I'm like, yeah, they do. But they're paying DJ Moore a lot of money. They're paying Khalil Shakir a lot of money. So I think it'd be wise to get another receiver on a rookie deal in Denzel Boston, who has a unique skill set. It's a little bit different. Now, DJ Moore is like a 6'2", like alpha X receiver. Like, he could be that, but I don't know. He took a step back last year, and that's concerning to me because he was with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, and that offense was just great. So I don't know why DJ Moore wasn't as productive, although he did make some really clutch plays, which is awesome because Buffalo needs a receiver that can make really clutch plays, including the game winner he had against the Green Bay Packers for DJ Moore. But now let's rework this room. Keon Coleman seems like he's out. The talks with the owner and Brandon Beane, like, that was just pretty crazy to me. But then Joe Brady's like, oh, the best thing that could have happened for Keon was me being hired as a head coach. I'm like, brother, you were the OC. Like, what? Why would you not scheme him up more? Like, McDermott was an offensive guy. Like, that just didn't make sense to me. I don't know. But DJ Moore, Denzel Boston with Shakir working out of the slot. How's that for a recreated wide receiver room for the Buffalo Bills? Still got Kincaid. They brought back Knox. Still got James Cook. Still got an awesome offensive line. Yeah, I think I like this fit. I think that makes a lot of sense. But Boston's a very physical receiver. He's not going to make a ton of people miss, but he's just going to run through their face, which in Buffalo, New York in January, yeah, I think that'll work for the Bills just fine. No one's going to want to tackle this dude in the secondary. And, he's got really strong hands. I mean, really productive at Washington. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And he's used to playing in cold weather. So how about that? 29, Kansas City Chiefs, Colton Hood, corner out of Tennessee. We didn't go quarter at 9. Delane got picked right in their face, but even if Delane's on the board, I prefer Maui Noah there over Delane for the Chiefs because there's some other. It's a really deep corner class. You can get starters on day 2. Like, you can. In this scenario, the Chiefs get Colton Hood, corner out of Tennessee, who really stepped up for the Volunteers last year with McCoy being out. And yeah, I mean, I don't need to dive too much in this one. We talked about what their needs were earlier in the draft. We just know the Chiefs need a corner to replace McDuffie and Watson, excuse me. 30. Here's a trade. The second trade we got. The Arizona Cardinals move up to take the place of the Denver Broncos, who moved back just a couple spots into the early second round. They pick up maybe a late day 2 pick, maybe a couple day 3 picks. The Cardinals get Ty Simpson, quarterback out of Alabama. Ty Simpson, I can go to whole rampage. I do not think he should have declared for the draft. He's the clear QB2. Absolutely, he's going to be the second quarterback off the board, without a doubt. But apparently he was getting offers of like north of $5-6 million to stay in school. He could have went to Miami. I don't know if he could have stayed at Alabama, but maybe he could have went to LSU. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's so raw, and he only has 1 year of starts under his belt. And the big threshold for quarterbacks is like, how many starts can you get in college? And with the way NIL is structured now, it'd be wise, like what Dante Moore just did, go back, get another year of experience under your belt, get paid a shit ton of money. And when you enter the league, you're going to be more prepared that you can hit the ground running, because teams don't wait around long for quarterbacks to develop anymore. Just doesn't happen. So I think Ty should have went back to school. Absolutely. Even if Alabama told him he wasn't going to be their starter anymore, which I think is crazy. Through the first half of the season, he was awesome. Dominant. They had a gauntlet of a schedule. He was insanely accurate. Alabama looked really freaking good after that early loss to Florida State. Since the conclusion of the season, apparently he was battling some type of illness that, he just kept throwing up and his stomach couldn't hold anything. He lost a significant amount of weight. His production really shit the bed. I mean, let's be honest. Ryan Williams really let him down. Guy who was awesome as a freshman, just more than doubled his amount of drops last year. And just, I don't know, man. Something weird was going on with Alabama. I still don't love Kalen DeBoer. I think he's going to be out after the 2026 season, to be honest with you. I don't know. But this just makes sense for Arizona because you move back in, get that 5th-year option. You could still roll with Jacoby Brissett. Let Ty sit and learn because he's not ready to start day 1 like Fernando Mendoza is, in my opinion. So you can roll out Brissett, man, and you still got McBride, you got Marv, you got Michael Wilson, and you got some tools there. So yeah, in this scenario, they add Arll, Reese, and Ty Simpson. How about that, Cardinals fans? How about that? 31. New England Patriots, Akeem Messidor, edge Miami. All right, Patriots fans. You need edge, you need receiver. I get it. What about it's A.J. Brown? Is that going to happen? Maybe around June 1 when the money makes sense for the Eagles a little bit more? I think it could happen. I saw, it was probably bullshit, but someone's like, oh, A.J. doesn't want to play in the cold, so he'd rather go down south. And I'm like, maybe. But I don't know. Mike Vrabel could probably convince him out of that. It's not like Philly's warm weather. So I don't know if I'm buying that, right? For the Pats, though, they need edge bad. They lost Caleb Von Chaisson to the Commanders. And let's be honest, it was already a need. I mean, Milton Williams was a home run for them on the interior, but they need help at edge. And Messidor is only here at 31 because he's going to be a 25-year-old rookie. The only reason. You could argue he had a better college football playoff run than Ruben Bain, who we have going 11th overall in this scenario. You could absolutely argue it. He was a menace. For the Pats, they were just in the Super Bowl. They're ready to win right now to get back. They don't give a shit that Messidor is 25. He's the best edge left on the board, fills a huge need. I think Mike Vrabel is going to love this pick in that defense. All right, to round us out here at pick 32, the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to go T.J. Parker, edge Clemson. This was a really tough pick for me because I look around at the Seahawks roster and I'm like, really not a lot of holes. I mean, they brought back Rashid Shaheed at receiver, which is nice. You got Kupp for another year. You got JSN. Like, yeah, run back that trio. You're good. They got good production out of the tight end position, and they still have a young buck they need to develop there. The offensive line is good. They had a home run with Zabel. Charles Cross is great. Like, I think they're good on offense, man. Like, could they add another developmental offensive lineman to step in down the road? I mean, it's never a bad idea. Look at the secondary. Secondary's pretty loaded too. Could they add another piece back there after losing Reek Woolen? Sure. But for me, TJ Parker is just a cleaner prospect than those guys. And another Clemson Tiger. Oh, his production step back. Like, I don't know, man. People seem to think his 2025 wasn't as bad as others are giving him credit for. And this guy dominated the Senior Bowl. How often do we see a guy that dominates the Senior Bowl just rise up draft boards? It happens fairly often. And this guy was being talked about as a top 10, 15 pick before the season. I mean, the Seahawks, you have an awesome defensive line as is. Mike McDonald isn't gonna flinch at adding another in TJ Parker. And it's not like Leonard Williams and DeMarcus Lawrence are getting any younger. So this is more of a thinking about the future, be a rotational guy year one, and then maybe step it in year two to be a full-time starter in TJ Parker. All right, Felt fans, that wraps up Big Dogs Mock Draft 1.0. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it very much. If you're still here, please drop a comment. I'd love to go back and forth with you guys on what picks you loved or hated. Drop a like. Make sure you're subscribed. Hype the video up. Why not? The mocks have been cooking. We appreciate you. We'll catch you soon here on Around the Felt Sports.